Hello and hi everybody, welcome back to another one. At this time I'm doing another one from SML Theory. This one is SML Theory. What if Marvin killed Jeffy? Well, obviously it would end the Jeffy era. All the Jeffy fans would be fucking upset, fucking pissed. They would go cry to their mommies being like, Jeffy died, and all this stuff. And SML, I have a feeling it'll take a decline if Jeffy were to ever die or for some reason leave. If he were to leave and never come back. So that's what I think would happen. But let's see what theories would be made in this video. So with that being said, if you have not yet subscribed to SML Theory, the link to the original is in the description down below. Be sure to go subscribe to SML Theory if you have not yet already. So with that being said, let's get into this.
Love-hate relationship with Jeffy ever since he first arrived. Marvin has had a love-hate relationship with Jeffy ever since he first arrived on his doorstep back in 2016.
Yep.
Hello? Hey, you want to see my pen?
That's the day his life became hell.
Who are you? What are you doing here? My name is Jeffy. See, it says on my shirt. Jeffy.
He's threatened multiple times to kill Jeffy, but what would happen if he actually went through with it? There are three scenarios that we can look at for Marvin killing Jeffy. The first being before SML movie Jeffy's parents. The second is after Jeffy's parents, but before Jeffy turned 18. And the third is after he turns 18. In our first scenario, if Marvin killed Jeffy all the way back in the first year of his character being introduced, Marvin would not have found out about Jeffy being the son of Jacques-Pierre Francois. And this would set the timeline off so much so that when Nancy saw that Jacques died and she shows up at the apartment complex to talk to Mr. Goodman to find Jeffy, there are two possible ways that Goodman's phone call to Mario could go. If Jeffy had died in the apartment, Mario and the other characters would have been all taken in for questioning, as Mr. Goodman knows that Jeffy used to live in the apartment because he was the one who gave Jeffy his schooling test while they were still living there.
Oh, hi. Are you,
Mario would be suspect number one and would be sent off to jail.
Mario?
Yes, I am.
Oh, well, I'm Mr. Goodman. I'm the superintendent of special needs schooling, and I'm actually here to congratulate you on the adoption of your new son, Jeffy.
No. I did not adopt Jeffy. He is not my son. I'm not his parent. He got dropped off at my door like a couple months ago, and they're looking for his parents, so I'm temporarily his guardian.
Well, since you are his guardian, you are actually...
Motherfucker.
Whatever you do.
Harbor Freight. I only go there when my dad wants to take me.
To teach him the education requirements for the grade that he's currently in. So the ABCs, the count to 10, math, all that.
I can't teach him all that.
Now, depending on whether or not Jeffy's body was found is another situation, but assuming it was never found, Mario would eventually be interrogated, and with the amount of technology that's readily available, they would put Mario under a lie detector test and eventually get caught and be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This would also mean that Nancy would no longer be destined to go to jail after hitting Jeffy in SML movie Jeffy's parents, which means she'd be free roaming and still alive. This would also mean that she would possibly be out on the street being a prostitute, causing her to possibly get arrested for that crime as well, but it's unlikely as she wasn't caught for a long time, and she was only caught after she charged Mario $1 to spit on him.
Hey, do you have any coffee or something with alcohol in it?
What, alcohol? Aren't you pregnant?
I don't even know. Hey, I'll spit on you for $1.
Yeah.
Ew, no, I don't want you to... I didn't say yes, I didn't say yes. Oh, God,
That's disgusting.
Now, if Jeffy was killed when Mario and all the other characters moved out of the apartment, Nancy would be the one who would have to deal with Mario. My theory is that Mr. Goodman would send Nancy to Mario's house, and he would want to tell Nancy about Jeffy's passing. Knowing how Mario is, he would try to explain how Jeffy's death was an accident, and then Nancy would be so infuriated with Mario that he lost Nancy her millions of dollars that the second that Nancy found out that Jeffy died under Mario's supervision, Nancy would most likely kill both Mario and Rosalina. And after that, she would flee the scene and never be seen in the public eye.
I guess it'll be worse than it looks.
This means that Does Bad Things guy probably wouldn't care about them dying and may even came down from the secret room to grab the bodies and add them to his collection. And when Brooklyn Guy returns later that year in May, Brooklyn Guy would open a case after trying to find Mario, Rosalina, and Jeffy. And by the time he got to the secret room, Does Bad Things guy would be connected to the murders, as his DNA would be on the bodies, which over time would pile up and eventually would overshadow Nancy's DNA, completely separating her from the murder, and she'd get away totally free. Does Bad Things guy would have probably also died when Brooklyn Guy came back, as it was only Does Bad Things guy who didn't want people going in the secret room, and so when Brooklyn Guy sees the room, he would most likely enter and see Does Bad Things guy around a bunch of bodies. But when it would come out a few years later that Jacques was still alive in 2022, when the events of Jeffy's 18th birthday happened.
Breaking news, okay? World-renowned painter Jacques-Pierre Francois, the famous painter we all presumed was dead, turns out he's actually still alive. He faked his death to make his paintings more valuable. I have an exclusive
So
interview
Jeffy
with him
was
now.
worthless, pretty much.
All right, everyone. I'm here with the now alive world-renowned painter Jacques-Pierre Francois. So tell us, Jacques, why would you fake your own death?
You see, paintings are worth more when the artist is dead, and I was drowning in gambling debts. So I faked my own death, and now my paintings are worth millions. Extraordinary.
Nancy would
To get out of
track him down
gambling.
and hold him hostage until he made a contract in writing where Jacques would give all of his money from his estate to Nancy when he died, which Jacques would be tortured into signing, and once he signed it, Nancy would kill Jacques for his money, making Nancy a multi-millionaire. Now the next scenario where Marvin kills Jeffy after Jeffy's parents but before his 18th birthday, and assuming the events of Jeffy's parents occur how they do normally, Nancy's in prison for prostitution and child abuse along with a lot of other charges as listed by Brooklyn Guy.
Donnie, is old mommy gonna go to jail?
I don't know, Jeffy.
Okay, so she's getting arrested for child abuse, prostitution, and a number of other things.
Yes.
With
Yes.
this gives us from January 23rd, 2017 to August 21st, 2021 for Marvin to get tired of Jeffy and kill him. If Jeffy gets killed on or before August 21st, 2021, we'll get about the same timeline that we would if Nancy comes back to Marvin's house to find Jeffy. In this timeline, on August 21st, 2021, Nancy breaks out of prison for the first time after calculating that Jeffy was supposed to be 18 with daily tally mark scratches in
Well,
her jail cell.
he was
However,
17 at
events
the
of
time.
Jeffy's 17th birthday
Yeah.
are a bit different
He
than
was
the original, as
17.
in this reality, Nancy comes in and hits Marvin in the face like normal, but when Nancy can't find Jeffy, she ties Marvin up and sets him aside when Brooklyn Guy shows up. Nancy would then knock Brooklyn Guy out after sneaking up on him when he goes through the open door of the house. And if Brooklyn Guy had a gun, she would disarm him and tie him up with Marvin before threatening them and torturing them with a gun until either of them told her where Jeffy was or if he was even still alive.
This would be very
My theory is
gruesome
that Nancy would have
anyway.
taken them to the secret room where they would stay tied up with no way to communicate with the outside world. But then, after a year passes, when Nancy hears about Jacques-Pierre Francois' death being fake, this would infuriate Nancy, causing her to track Jacques down and do the same thing to him, making him write and sign a new will giving all of his money to Nancy before ultimately throwing him off a bridge and getting the money from Jacques' estate once his body was found, making her a multi-millionaire. Now we turn to if Marvin kills Jeffy on or after his 18th birthday. Moving away from Nancy for a little bit, if Jeffy were to be killed by Marvin, say after the events of Jeffy's stealing problem, as Marvin could have choked Jeffy out, the first people to notice would be Rose, Junior, Joseph, and Cody. Now,
Yep.
Rose could be easily fooled as she's kind of a dumb blonde, so Marvin
A dumb
can say that
bitch,
he sent him
actually.
to military school. Junior, Joseph, and Cody would be a bit harder to fool, as Junior lives in the same house as Marvin. So once
Yeah.
they're in class, they could be talking about where Jeffy was. And Penelope and Jackie too could also start to get curious and become more nosy and start to ask questions. Eventually, the news would make it to Brooklyn Guy, where he would then interrogate Marvin, where he would then be arrested as Rose would speak up and say that he was at military school. But the Brooklyn Guy would call Marvin's bluff, as Brooklyn Guy is also the drill instructor for the military school. Brooklyn Guy would then ask for the paperwork for Jeffy attending the school, which Marvin doesn't have. And so Brooklyn Guy would take Marvin back to the police station where they would use the lie detector on him, and Marvin is proven guilty.
Yeah.
And he would get life in prison and without the possibility of parole. And I say this instead of the death penalty is because Florida is one of the states that doesn't have the death penalty. Now, going back to Nancy's perspective, assuming the events of Jeffy's 18th birthday happen canonically, Nancy lays low for a few months until January 29th, 2023, 3 days after SML movie Jeffy's stealing problem. And then she sees a news article about Jeffy being missing and that Marvin was under investigation. Nancy would then go back to the SML house being met by no one. And after seeing another article the next day on January 30th, 2023, that Jeffy was killed by Marvin and that he was in prison for it, as she reads the article, she would get angrier by the second. And my theory is that Nancy recruits Screwball once again and acts like a police transport van and kidnaps Marvin, getting through Brooklyn Guy easily, as Brooklyn Guy is one of the most clueless characters in the series
Clueless
sometimes.
character.
And then Nancy tortures Marvin enough until he tells Nancy what happened to Jeffy, and once he admits to his crime, Nancy leaves the van and blows it up, just like what happened in SML movie Jeffy's 18th birthday. Nancy would then go track down Jacques and make him give her his money and a new will before executing Jacques. But after Nancy executes Jacques, we have to look at the specifics on what would happen if Jeffy died. We have to look into the main main reason why he's such an important character and why Nancy's going after him in the first place, we need to look at both French and Florida law on what would happen to the assets. In the will, if Jeffy, who was the person who was going to receive the assets, died before Jacques did, Jeffy's situation wouldn't apply to Florida Statute 732.603, which basically means that if the main successor or person who would get all the assets of Jacques died, the surviving descendants would get the money instead. However, this Florida statute would only apply if Phoebe survived the hit and run scene in Jeffy's Sister Returns. Now, if we use everything from the current SML timeline, but the only difference is that Jeffy died when Jacques died, Jeffy and his gain of Jacques' assets would be dealt with as if he wasn't dead. This process is called a lapse devise or a void devise. Basically, what would happen is if Jacques died after Jeffy died, like I predicted in the different timelines, Jeffy would still get the money. However, because Phoebe's also dead, Jeffy would have to pass it on to his descendants, which right now is only Jeffy Jr. 2, who, if you didn't remember, he is the result of a pregnancy in SML movie Pregnant Jeffy. However, right now he's working somewhere in a sweatshop, so it's unknown if the money would even get to him. Moving on to French law and French streets wills, because Jacques, he stayed in France during the whole time of his fake death. Along with this, from the note found in Jeffy's parents and how Jeffy can speak French fluently in SML movie Jeffy's Brain.
Oh man, I'm so glad.
That's because they had a different brain.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jean-Pierre-François.
Ooh, I like his voice,
Because
Mario.
it's a different brain.
Dreamy.
No, but it's not Jeffy's voice. That's not Jeffy's brain. Wait. There's no more brains left. Where's Jeffy's brain?
I like this Jeffy, Mario. His voice is hot.
Oh, you like it when I speak French,
Shut the
don't
fuck
you,
up, Rose.
Joey?
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you something very sexy. I have a very messy diaper.
Ooh.
It is on the outside of my pants.
It's safe to assume that Jeffy was also born in France along with his father, which would make this will more relevant as both people we're dealing with were born in France. French law is a bit more difficult to look up, but since Nancy was a prostitute, this would fall into the category of not married but had children. In this case, when Jacques dies, Jacques must give all of their assets to the child, which in this case would be Jeffy. However, with Jeffy being dead as well, similar to Florida law, France law states that if the deceased child was dead, then their child would inherit the money. So again, Jeffy Jr. 2 from SML movie Pregnant Jeffy would inherit the money. Although, if the will that Jacques makes is filed in France, because of Jeffy's kids still being alive, the will would not be honored fully. Based on French law, no matter what, the child, or in this case, Jeffy's kid, would get only half of the honored amount. Assuming we use the amount that Jacques wrote in all his paintings that we see in the SML series, Jacques would have $358 million to pass down. And that would mean that Nancy would get $179 million, or 162.88 million euros, and Jeffy Jr. 2 would get the same amount, making Nancy rich and finally realize her dark dream, and maybe she'd stop doing so many crimes. And Jeffy Jr. 2 could finally stop working in the sweatshop and live a nice, happy life. But let me know what you think would happen down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video here.
Jesus. I mean, all that would make sense. Like, no matter what, Marvin will get arrested. He will be sentenced to jail. Nancy would always track him down, finding him, and torture him to admit what happened, and more than likely kill him. Yes, kill him. And the whole inherited shit is just going to be confusing as hell. I mean, even though he just explained it, it'll just be all over the place, so... yeah, and... pretty much if Jeffy died, it looks like a bigger deal than it already is, because all the Jeffy fans would go insane, but also the SML universe would also be crazy as well, because, you know, if Marvin actually did kill Jeffy, no matter what, he's going to jail, no matter what, because he's his dad, and he lives with a bunch of people, so they'll think of him as suspect number one, so... yeah, no matter what, Marvin's not getting out of this free. So, yeah, it's a good thing Mario didn't kill Jeffy, because he would have been dead by now. He probably either would have been dead by now or would have been sent off to prison for life. So, yeah, I'm glad Mario held his temper to where he doesn't kill Jeffy. So, yeah, but with that being said, if you enjoyed this, be sure to give this video a like. If you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to do so right now. Turn on notifications to be notified for any video that I upload, and I'll catch you guys later in the next one whenever I start doing that. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'll catch you guys later. So take care.